Hello, my name is Brandon Salas.
And my name is Grace Edwards, and we go to Harmony School of Ingenuity.
So the main scientific principles of our brain model PBL project have to do with psychology, body systems, and how the different parts of the brain work together in order to control our bodily actions and processes.
In our project, we will explain how these different parts of the brain each have their own unique function and how they will all work together towards a common goal. We will explain how each part has a role in controlling who we are, the way we think, and what we do in our everyday lives.
So for our ELA component of our project, we decided to go with a personal narrative essay. I wrote about how my uncle's life has been severely impacted by a disease called multiple sclerosis. I talked about the effects that this disease has on the brain and how it leads to the symptoms in order to emphasize the importance of the different parts of the brain and the negative effect that can come if they become impaired. Finally, I talked about how seeing the effects of the disease and learning the science behind it made me see the role that the brain plays in allowing us to do many of the simple yet important tasks that we take for granted. And most importantly, it confirmed to me that the brain is one of the most important organs and also the most complex.
For our social component of the project, I have decided to write about the history of neuroscience. My essay focuses on how the brain has been studied and has slowly become more understood over the centuries due to the research of many great minds studying the brain, its various parts, and the functions of those parts throughout the body. However, there is still a lot of unknown information about the brain that my generation and those others will be in charge of discovering. Thanks for watching.
Alright, so this is our brain model for our project, and now we'll be naming each part and explaining their function. That is the frontal lobe. It controls important cognitive skills in humans, and these include emotional expression, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, and sexual behaviors. That is the temporal lobe. It is responsible for perceiving audio, producing speech, managing memories, and organizing sensory input. That is the cerebellum. It receives input from sensory systems of the spinal cord and from other parts of the brain, and it integrates these inputs into fine-tuned motor activity. Alright, so that's the olfactory bulb. It allows us to perceive olfactory information. This includes distinguishing between different smells, processing smells and relating them to emotions and memories, capturing tastes, and regulating sexual behavior by processing pheromones. That is the olfactory tract. It is a bilateral bundle of afferent nerve fibers from the mitral and tufted cells of the olfactory bulb. It connects to several target regions of the brain, including the piriform cortex, amygdala, and entorhinal cortex. So this is the optic nerve. It transfers visual information from the retina to the vision centers of the brain via electrical impulses. That's the longitudinal fissure. It carries information about the direction in which the eyes move. It also connects the nuclei of the oculomotor nerve to the trochlear nerve and the abducens nerve. It also integrates movement directed by the gaze centers and information about head movement. That's the optic tract. It's a bundle of nerve fibers that serves to carry visual information from the optic chiasma to the left and right lateral geniculate bodies as a part of the visual pathway. That is the medulla oblongata. It controls automatic functions such as breathing, digestion, vasoconstriction, and reflex responses like sneezing, gagging, and vomiting, and also relays nerve signals between the brain and the spinal cord. That is the medulla spinalis. It transmits both motor and sensory impulses from the brain to the rest of the body. Alright, so that's the infundibulum. It is a tube-like structure that connects the posterior pituitary to the hypothalamus. So that is the pons. It connects the cerebral cortex with the medulla oblongata, and it serves as a communication and coordination center between the two hemispheres of the brain. That is the corpus callosum. It is a large bundle of more than 200 million myelinated nerve fibers that connect the two brain hemispheres. It permits communication between the right and the left side of the brain. That is the anterior commissure. It's a large bundle of crossing fibers which connects the olfactory bulb and parts of the cerebellum to the same areas of the opposite side. The optic chiasma, it is the place in the brain where some of the optic nerve fibers coming from one from one eye cross optic nerve fibers from the other eye. The massa intermedia, it is composed of glial tissue and is a small connection between the medial opposing surfaces of the two thalami that pass through the third ventricle of the brain.
Okay, this is the foreventricle. It protects the human brain from trauma and helps form a central canal, which runs the length of the spinal cord. This is central canal. It helps transport nutrients to the spinal cord as well as protected by cushioning impacted by force when the spine is affected. This is the tonsilla. It is part of cerebellum. It controls the flow of CSF, which removes waste products from the brain. This is the uvula, receives projections from pontine nuclei that have been implicated in visual motion processing and the generation of smooth pursuit. The piriformis cerebelli contain the motor fibers that pass from the brain to the medulla oblongata and the spinal cord. This is the sulcus hypothalamicus. It starts from the upper border and extends from the intraventricular foramen to the cerebral aqueducts. This is the lamina quadrigemina. It is a reflex center involving vision and hearing. It consists of a group of nerve cells and connects to the forebrain and hindbrain. And finally, this is the penile body. It is a small endocrine gland. It is located on the back portion of the third cerebral ventricle of the brain, which is a fluid-filled space in the brain.